My name is Madeline Brooks, and if you saw me today, you'd think I had it all figured out. From the 22nd floor of my glass-walled office, I can see the Hudson River shimmering under the late afternoon sun. The city looks like it bends for me, but what no one realizes is that behind this polished image, there's a story, one that started with betrayal. I smooth the cuff of my silk blouse, the kind of fabric I once only dreamed of affording, and sip the last of my cold coffee. My assistant had just placed a new file on my desk, embossed with the name of a brand that, ironically, my cousin once claimed as hers. A brand that everyone believed was her creation. My phone buzzed against a glass desk, pulling me out of my thoughts. The name flashing on the screen made my stomach tighten. Claire, my cousin. The same cousin who once laughed at my dreams, the one who took the one thing I held dear and claimed it as her own. I stared at the screen, my manicured finger hovering above the answer button. I hadn't spoken to her in years. Not since the day she snatched my gift and left me broken. And yet, here she was calling me now on the very day her company's fate lay in my hands. I let the phone buzz twice more before I pressed it to my ear, my voice steady, even warm. Claire? And just like that, the past came rushing back. I was 19 when I learned how sharp betrayal could feel. Back then, I wasn't the woman who owned a high-rise office or signed million-dollar contracts. I was just Madeline, a quiet girl who sketched designs in the margins of my college notebooks, dreaming of building something that felt like mine. My grandmother, Evelyn, had always been my anchor. She believed in me when no one else did. One chilly November afternoon, she handed me a carefully wrapped box. The paper was soft, patterned with faded roses, her handwriting looping across a tiny card. For the future only you can see. Inside was a leather-bound sketchbook. On the first page, she had written, "Dream in ink before the world can erase your vision." That book became my treasure. Every sleepless night, every burst of inspiration, every tear-stained doubt, I poured it all into those pages. But dreams are fragile things, especially when envy gets too close. Claire, my cousin, was everything I wasn't: loud, popular, the center of attention at every family dinner. She noticed the sketchbook one evening when I was showing my grandmother a design I had drawn. A simple logo, a wildflower blooming out of cracked pavement. To me, it symbolized survival, beauty after hardship. Claire's eyes lit up, but not with pride, with calculation. "That's cute," she said with a smirk. That would make a really trendy brand. Maybe I'll use it someday." I laughed it off at first, hugging the sketchbook to my chest. But within months, Claire had registered a small online boutique. When the site launched, my logo, my wildflower, was splashed across the homepage. She had stolen my gift, my vision, and twisted it into something she called her own. I remember standing in her launch party, invited only out of obligation, the lump in my throat so heavy I could barely breathe. Everyone toasted her brilliance, her creativity, her brand. No one knew the truth, that those ideas had been born in the pages of my sketchbook, nurtured in my silence. That night, I cried in my dorm room until my eyes swelled shut. My hands shook so badly, I almost ripped the sketchbook apart. But my grandmother's words echoed back, "Dream in ink before the world can erase your vision." So instead of tearing it, I opened to a blank page. I drew again, and again, and again. And in that moment, I made a choice. If Claire wanted to take my gift and flaunt it like hers, fine. I would build something bigger, something stronger. And one day, the world would know it had always been mine. Starting over was not glamorous. I moved out of the dorms and into a tiny studio apartment above a laundromat in Queens. The walls smelled like detergent and damp air, but it was mine. I worked late shifts at a coffee shop, saving every extra dollar for art supplies and secondhand textbooks on business and design. During the day, I'd sit cross-legged on the hardwood floor, my grandmother's sketchbook open in front of me, trying to bring my ideas to life. I didn't just want to sketch anymore. I wanted to create. But passion doesn't pay bills, and talent alone doesn't build empires. I needed guidance. That's when I met Elena Ramirez, a sharp, seasoned designer who taught part-time at the community center. She was the kind of woman who carried herself like she didn't need anyone's permission. I still remember the first time she looked over my sketches. She tapped her finger on the page with my wildflower designs and said, "You've got something real here. Don't let anyone make you smaller than this." Her words lit something inside me. She became my mentor, pushing me harder than I thought I could handle. She taught me not just about design, but about contracts, sourcing, branding, and most importantly, owning my work. It wasn't easy. There were nights I'd collapse on my futon, hands cramped from sewing samples, eyes blurry from staring at my laptop screen. I doubted myself constantly. Was I strong enough? Smart enough? Or was Claire right, that I'd never be more than a dreamer scribbling in the margins? But every small victory felt monumental. My first online sale. A young woman who bought one of my handmade totes messaged me saying, "I feel like this bag was made for me. Thank you." My first profitable month. The moment I signed my first wholesale deal with a tiny boutique in Brooklyn. Each step forward stitched confidence into me. I learned to keep my success quiet. At family gatherings, I downplayed everything. "Oh, I'm just working a little side project," I'd say with a shrug, sipping water while everyone praised Claire's booming brand. They didn't know her company was already crumbling under poor management and flashy spending. Meanwhile, I registered my own company under a different name, one that no one in the family would connect to me. I trademarked my designs. I built relationships with suppliers. I worked the numbers until they made sense. Year by year, my side project grew into something powerful. Orders expanded beyond New York. Then beyond the US suddenly, my wildflower symbol wasn't just a doodle in a sketchbook. It was stamped on products shipped across the world. I never told Claire. I never told anyone. Let them think I was the quiet cousin, still struggling. The longer they underestimated me, the more freedom I had to build without interference. And then, almost 10 years after that night, I cried myself to sleep in my dorm. I woke up to see my company valued at millions. The brand that Claire had stolen? Her version was fading fast.
But mine?
Mine had just taken root. The call from Claire had been short, almost rushed. "Hey, Maddie. I need to talk to you. It's important." Her voice was different. Not the smug, confident tone she used when she flaunted her so-called success. This time, she sounded desperate. And curiosity, mixed with a little irony, made me agree to meet. 2 days later, Claire walked into my office. She didn't recognize it at first. She stepped through the glass doors, her heels clicking nervously on the marble floor, her eyes scanning the sleek furniture, the tall plants in white ceramic pots, the massive canvas painting that hung behind my desk. Everything about the space whispered success. And then she saw me. I sat at the head of the conference table, my laptop open, a stack of signed contracts neatly arranged beside it. My assistant poured water into crystal glasses, the sound breaking the silence. Claire froze, blinking as though she wasn't sure she was in the right place. "Madeline?" she whispered, almost choking on the word. "Claire." I smiled, calm, steady, like the years of pain had hardened into steel. "It's been a long time." Her eyes darted around again, taking in every detail. This is your office?" "It is," I said simply. She let out a shaky laugh.
"Wow.
You really cleaned up nice." But I could see it in her eyes. The disbelief, the panic. She hadn't expected this. She had expected the same old Madeline, still struggling, still invisible. Finally, she pulled a folder from her bag and slid it across the table. "I need help," she admitted, her voice breaking. "The brand is collapsing. Sales have tanked, investors are pulling out. I don't know what to do." I didn't touch the folder. I didn't need to. I already knew. My team had been watching our company unravel for months. "Claire," I said softly, leaning forward. "Do you remember that sketchbook? The one Grandma gave me?" Her face went pale. "Do you remember the wildflower logo you saw in it? The one you said you might use someday?" I continued, my voice steady. "You did use it. You took it. You built your brand on it. And for years, You let the world believe it was yours. She swallowed hard, her hands trembling. Madeline, I was young. I didn't think. But I did. I cut her off, sliding a different folder across the table. Inside were the legal documents, trademarks, registrations, acquisitions. I thought long and hard. I protected my work. I built my company quietly, piece by piece. And 6 months ago, when your business went up for sale, I bought it. Her gasp echoed in the room. What? She whispered. I own the brand now, Claire. My words were like a gavel hitting wood. The one you stole from me? It's mine. Every last thread of it. She sat back in her chair, stunned into silence. Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again, but no words came out. The silence stretched until I spoke again. You see, Claire, you thought you stole my gift. But what you really did was give me the fire to prove myself. And now, the name you paraded around? It belongs to me. Her eyes filled with tears, and for the first time in years, I saw not arrogance, not superiority, just shame. Behind her, the glass reflected the skyline. Tall, unshakable, just like me. Claire was still staring at me, the weight of reality pressing down on her shoulders. I leaned back in my chair, letting the silence stretch. In that pause, the power dynamic shifted completely. I could walk away and leave you floundering, I said softly, watching her flinch. I could let your mistakes destroy what you built, and believe me, I thought about it. Her hands trembled. Maddie, please, I can fix it, I swear. I'll do anything. I studied her carefully, then allowed myself a small, measured smile. Anything isn't enough. But certain things that matter, will make a difference. I laid out my conditions, my voice calm but firm. 1. Transparency. From now on, if you're going to use designs that are not originally yours, you must credit the creator. That means acknowledging the work of others instead of stealing it for personal gain. 2. Responsibility. Every financial decision must be backed with a proper plan. No more reckless spending, no more shortcuts. You've burned trust before. Now it's time to rebuild it. 3. Growth. You need to learn the craft, the business, the process. I will connect you with mentors, people who actually know how to guide you. But you have to be willing to listen. 4. Healing the family rift. Our family can't thrive if we carry grudges. We will have monthly check-ins, not for control, but for communication. You must commit to that. Claire nodded slowly, tears running down her cheeks. I can do that, Maddie. I will. I promise. And I continued softer now. This isn't about revenge. I care about you, even after everything. But I'm not bending to old patterns. I won't let the past define me, and I won't let anyone underestimate me again. Her face softened, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of genuine respect. It was small but real. I turned my attention to my family, who had quietly entered the room. They had come, expecting to see the same quiet girl they'd always known. Now they were confronted with the woman who not only survived betrayal, but thrived because of it. To each of them, I extended the same principle: growth, accountability, and honesty. No one gets a free pass. I offered guidance, opportunities, and support, but only if they were willing to meet the standards I set. By the time the meeting ended, the atmosphere had shifted. The fear, the envy, the underestimation, it had evaporated. I left them with hope tempered by responsibility. They would learn or they would step aside. And through it all, I felt an unfamiliar lightness. For the first time in years, I wasn't fighting shadows of the past. I had taken control, not just of the brand, but of the narrative of my life. Weeks passed, and the changes I had demanded began to take root. Claire attended every mentorship session, slowly learning to navigate the business she once thought was hers by right. She made mistakes, small ones, but she listened, she grew, and she began to understand the value of integrity. The family, too, shifted. Weekend dinners that had once been filled with tension now hummed with cautious warmth. My cousins asked questions, not out of judgment but curiosity. My parents, who had once doubted my independence, began to see me, not just as the quiet girl who had been overlooked, but as the woman who had quietly built a legacy from scratch. I found myself holding the old leather-bound sketchbook in my hands one evening, flipping through the pages now filled with memories of struggle, hope, and determination. Grandma Evelyn's handwriting still stared up at me from the first page. Dream in ink before the world can erase your vision. That small gift had been more than just inspiration. It had been a compass, guiding me through every doubt, every betrayal, every lonely night. It had reminded me that power didn't always come from what others gave you, but from what you nurtured inside yourself. Sitting in my office, looking at the skyline as the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt a quiet pride settle in my chest. I had taken a gift, protected it, expanded it, and turned it into something greater than I had ever imagined. I had been hurt, yes. I had been underestimated, yes. But through it all, I had become exactly who I was meant to be. And in that moment, I understood the truth I had been chasing all along. Success without integrity is hollow, but growth born from adversity is unshakable. The world now recognized my work, my vision, my brand. And those who had doubted me, those who had betrayed me, had finally seen what I had always known. I was capable, resilient, and unstoppable. I closed the sketchbook and placed it on my desk, a reminder of how far I had come and how much farther I could go. Leaning back in my chair, I let a single thought anchor me. They took my gift, but I built an empire from it, and nothing can ever take that away.